there, my dear child.
What are you, blind, you old hag? I've got chin hair.
Oh, sorry, dearie. I assumed you were younger because of your dolls.
Those aren't dolls, they're... Forget it.
I have come a long way to ask you to review...
Disney Snow White Blu-ray, blah, blah, blah. I've gone through this shtick before. Just hand it over.
Oh, well, I wish the princess was as easy as you.
Thanks. Hey, Chris. Are we still doing that 7 Dwarfs bit? Absolutely not. I can barely stand one of you, let alone 7.
With his beaver cap and his checkered tie, let's see what he has to say. What's he got for us this time? They're probably Blu-ray. Aficionados, Chris. It's a guilty pleasure. Aficionados, Chris. It's a comfort measure. Shine the lights, shoot the camera, smile for the world in panorama. He likes to impersonate Gottfried.
Hey everybody, Aficionados Chris here, and today we're going to be reviewing easily one of the most iconic animated films of all time, a classic film in general, highly acclaimed, highly respected, and not just the first animated feature film in the United States, but the first animated feature film from Walt Disney and his creative team. That film, of course, is the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. As you're probably aware, this is a recent reissue of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on Blu-ray, because it has actually been on Blu-ray before as a Diamond edition way back in, I believe 2009, somewhere around there. In fact, I actually have the original Diamond Edition Blu-ray right here, but as you can see, unlike this one, this is not in a Blu-ray case, because this was actually during a period in my time where I was very anti-Blu-ray, or just really stubborn about it, so I really didn't like the idea of buying something that didn't match the rest of my DVDs. But I've since obviously stopped doing that, and this is... well, was a constant reminder that I made a terrible mistake in not supporting Blu-ray and had this ugly DVD case, but I still have the Blu-rays inside. I will be coming back to this because there's going to be a lot of comparisons both in the picture and audio quality of the Blu-ray as well as the big thing, the bonus features of whether or not this differs with the new release. But first let's talk about the new release. Now, like I said, now, because this, for me, it's a big deal because I wanted to get the original Snow White Diamond Edition complete in a Blu-ray case with slipcover, because with Disney films, I'm very picky about that because I want to have them with their slipcovers, because having them all lined up on a shelf really reminds me of back on VHS when they had the matching clamshells where everything lined up and looked nice. So I just like my Disney films to match, so I'm very picky in that regard. But in this case, it was a win for me, because when they announced that this was coming out, it was, well, great, I could finally get Snow White on Blu-ray in a regular Blu-ray case as opposed to that ugly DVD case that I have. But I will say I'm not too fond of the artwork on this one. It's very, very basic. I guess it's to save money on printing, I guess. I've been seeing this a lot with quite a few Blu-rays. I mean, not Disney films in particular, but there have been a lot of Blu-rays where they've been reissued with less and less color, keeping the cover art very simplistic and basic, and I guess it's to save on money on coloring, because, you know, with the eco packagings and everything, they're always finding another way to make these for less and less money. And some people might have noticed it actually, the design they're using with the Snow White and the Queen really reminds me of the Diamond Edition Sleeping Beauty Blu-ray that I reviewed a long time ago, with the difference being is that they were separate, but it seems like they took almost the same poses and, you know, just drew them as the Queen and Snow White and just, you know, sandwiched them together essentially on this cover. And of course the Disney staple now of putting the film on the side. And I know a lot of people are going to ask this, because what makes this the Signature Collection, which, by the way, this is the first in the Signature Collection, which I'm assuming they're going to be doing more of these, probably for other Blu-ray films that need to be reissued. Probably Pinocchio, that's one I'd really like to see get a Blu-ray reissue, and I see no reason not to put it on Signature Collection. It makes sense, but basically it seems like it's not really like a Diamond Edition or a Platinum Edition, if anyone remembers those. It just seems to be more of a... I don't really know what to call it, because with Signature Collection you kind of think things like Criterion, like best of the best, high caliber picture and audio, high caliber extras and all that, but it's really not too much like that. Like, there's some really good extras in here, but the picture and audio quality is for the most part the same. The big difference though is that there's a brand new 7.1 mix as opposed to a 5.1 or a mono. And considering this was from 1937, there would have been a mono soundtrack for that film. So I thought that was really neat, and I tested it out. It sounds great, but from checking out my old Blu-ray, the picture quality looks virtually the same. If not, it might just be the exact same master from the original release, just with a brand new 7.1 audio mix to accompany it, and, you know, just a couple new extras. And that's one thing I really want to talk about, is that the big thing is that this is a single disc Blu-ray, as opposed to the old Diamond Edition, which was a 2-disc. And from what I see, not everything, as I tried to look for everything. In fact, this was back in the day where they actually, I'll pull it out, this is back in the day when they actually had Blu-ray guides to actually tell you where everything was, as far as extras and where to find everything. So they actually had a well played out map, and I can certainly say not everything that is on this, or I should say on this, is definitely not on this one. But for someone like me who's really more of a I just really care about getting the movie and some extras. I don't need a lot to really be completely satisfied, but I also understand a lot of people who, in your case, if you already have the Diamond Edition and have little interest in picking this one up, I wouldn't, you know, recommend it that much unless you really want a 7.1 audio track for Snow White. Yeah, if you have a nice 7.1 audio system to go along with it, by all means. But for me, the extras that are brand new to this are really good, and for me, they were really worth picking up this Blu-ray. They have a great featurette on here that is brand new to this one, basically talking about the whole history of Snow White, how it was, you know, by critics and journalists back in the day, it was considered to be an upcoming flop. Like, nobody believed in this film, and then the whole thing turned around when it became a massive hit. In fact, I believe they even said to this day Snow White, adjusted for inflation, is still the highest grossing animated film of all time, if not one of the top highest grossing. And due to its success, this is something I actually didn't know, due to the success of Snow White back in the day, it's actually what inspired MGM to give the green light to another classic family fantasy film, that being The Wizard of Oz. So without Snow White's success, Wizard of Oz pretty much wouldn't exist, and honestly, quite a lot of movie history later on wouldn't exist either. So Snow White, despite being an animated film, and I know a lot of people like to say things like, oh, cartoons are for kids. In fact, they even bring that up in the featurette, is that, you know, people said things like cartoons are kid stuff, but there were all these Hollywood stars who were showing up to the premiere of the film, including Clark Gable, of all people, ready to see Snow White in theaters back in the day. So Snow White is, and always will be, a culturally significant and important film to all film history and just history in general. This is a groundbreaking film, and even today watching it, I really respect it. I love watching it. It's an enjoyable movie. It is amazing for a film back then. The fact that they could even accomplish a feature film fully animated back then is astounding. And, you know, a lot of us, we don't really think too much of it because we have, like, what, 4 to 5 animated feature films every few months or something. Like, it's an average now. We see it all the time. But back then, this was not, even thought of. The idea of even bringing animated films to feature length. Anything past 10 minutes was considered risky. And to go along with an old tradition of reviewing Disney films on Blu-ray, specifically Diamond Editions, in this case I'll break my rule a little bit with the Signature Collection. I will be taking an excerpt from Leonard Maltin's book, The Disney Films, which I have taken reference in many, many Disney reviews, and I have a great section right here about the significance and the importance of Snow White. More than anything else, people were impressed with Snow White's realistic touches in 1937. They are just as striking today. Few cartoons before or since depicted rain so vividly, not just a torrent of drops superimposed over a setting, but actually showing the drops splashing on the ground. Seldom had there been such a concentration on shadows, from realistic ones such as that of the huntsman as he towers over Snow White in the forest, to the deliberately exaggerated ones cast by the dwarves' lanterns as they tiptoe into the darkened room where Snow White is asleep. There is no way to overstate the effect of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on the film industry or the movie-going public and the world in general. Some very wise words from one of my favorite critics and, well, if I'm going to be honest, one of my great critic heroes, in this case, Leonard Maltin. So all in all, I think I've said quite a lot that I could say, is that really, this release is more for people like myself who well, okay, I didn't miss out on the release, but I certainly made a mistake in purchasing it originally. In my case, I wanted to correct a mistake I made, and, well, the Diamond Edition was going for about $80 before this was released, and picking this up for only about $23.99. I think it's a great chance because I finally got Snow White in a proper Blu-ray edition that I've wanted to complete my collection. But if you already own the Diamond Edition, you're satisfied with that, I'd say possibly skip out on this one, but only if the extras I've mentioned really interest you. But outside of that, there's very few that's been carried over from the Diamond Edition, so I would hold on to that. Or heck, makeshift, like take the second disc from the Blu-ray, put it in here. I don't know, but I mean that might be too much work. That's something crazy that maybe I'll do. But in this case, this is more a general release for people who missed out on it, or who don't own it yet at all and have been wanting to get Snow White on Blu-ray but didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on eBay listings back, you know, I mean, they've obviously dropped since then, but spending so much money just to get them in their collection. Perfect way to finally pick it up, and I really hope that Disney does continue this signature collection, because like I said, I'd really like to see Pinocchio get a signature collection release, because, well, I missed out on that, and it seems they must have discontinued the Diamond Edition run. I guess Aladdin was basically the last. I was really hoping Pinocchio was going to get reissued as a diamond. It made sense, but I guess they're forking that over for signature, and I can't complain too much as long as I get my Disney films on Blu-ray and can finish my collection properly. So that's really all I have to say about the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Signature Collection Blu-ray from Disney. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
It's beautiful Snow White. She's so pretty. Taking care of her friends, the Seven Dwarfs.
Each has a magic surprise.
Sneezy has a nose so red.
Looks like Sleepy's ready for bed.
Grumpy's eyebrows go away.
Doc has a jewel for you to sing. Lots of dirt on Happy's face. Bashful blushes all over the place. Toby wants a kiss from you. Wow, look at all the magic you can do.
All dwarfs change color with warmer icy water. Snow White doll and dwarf sold separately or in sets.
Well, oh, I farted.
That's going out of character right there.